Unhurried Wonder, a poem by me. I have spent time looking down, avoiding the world with my eyes fixed on the ground, afraid of what I might find above, worried that I'd see what I'm scared of. But like that, I miss experiencing the world that I love. I have learned that when we look up, we see something worth seeing. When we slow down, we are somewhere worth being. The small moments, the laughs, the hugs, a sweet friendship, or even a warm mug. Sometimes we get to be a part of big moments too, like swimming in a waterfall's pool or seeing mountains afar beckoning with tender glow. I have seen life's ugliest offerings too. I've seen death, disease, despair. I've seen gloom. But for me, finding wonder in the trees, the sky, and flowers in bloom has grounded me. I've heard it said you become what you behold, and if I see joy in the water, that's where I'll look. Unhurried wonder. I'll find magic in the moments I'm in. I'll be delighted by the world where I live. I'll focus on the beauty in life, not the ugly. But here's my question. What do you see? What fills you with wonder? When you slow down and look at your life, you will see it sprinkled with magical moments. Those times where life was beautiful to you. Focus on finding those moments. Your unhurried wonder.
Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Lisa Grace, and today I have something really fun to show you guys. So I just finished my first semester of college art school, and that is crazy wild to me. I can't believe I finished, but because I'm done, I now have finals out of the way, done. And there's a final that I did for my drawing class that was actually very meaningful to me. And so I really wanted to show you guys what I did, what I made. I worked really hard on it. I spent probably 50 plus hours on this drawing project. And as like a plein air painter, I am used to paintings just taking a few hours and then being completely done with them. So the amount of time I spent on this was definitely a big commitment, and it's a piece made with colored pencils, and I haven't used colored pencils a lot, so there was a lot of things that I had to kind of work through to get to the final project, which makes it even more exciting to show you guys what I have now. So to start off, I wanted to tell you guys what the assignment for my final was actually. So for my drawing class, my professor had us take a 22-inch by 30-inch piece of paper and cut it at least once and make a series. And so we could cut it as many times as we wanted. And so I decided to cut it a lot of times and make a series of several mini pieces. And so we had to take one thing from a master. We could take a current artist or a old historic artist and learn from them in some way and then add something of our own to it. So I learned from the artist Holly Warburton. She's an illustrator from England on Instagram. That's where I found her, and I really loved her use of mark making and color. And so that's what I knew I wanted to use to kind of inspire my project. So I decided to learn from her use of color and mark making and add my own images and composition into the pieces. So whenever I was starting the kind of conceptualization, is that a word? I don't know. But of this series, I made this paper to show my professor. So first I went and swatched all of my colors that I had in my set of Prismacolor color pencils, and then went and drew some kind of concepts of moments that I really enjoyed from pictures that I took. And so I drew those little sketches and then went to Holly Warburton and did a little bit of a study of how she uses color and kind of her compositions there. And then I went and showed this all to my professor and said, I want to draw things like this, but like this, using these colors and kind of putting them into these sketches in some way. And then as I went through the process of working out each of these, I kind of needed to create these little thumbnail color sketches to see how they would actually work out. So I kept turning the page, making little scratches and doodles, and some took several little thumbnail sketches to figure out, some just took one, but this was vital for making these compositions and little pieces come alive. So when I started studying Holly Warburton, I started to notice what kind of each color did for expressing a certain emotion. So when she used like a blue range of color palette with like the green and like little pops of teal and red, this kind of felt like very calm, peaceful, slow, whereas like this color palette, when I had like more bright oranges and yellows and reds, felt more like vibrant and alive and fresh. And not that either of them didn't have those feelings that the other one didn't have, but that's just what expressed those more specifically. And as I worked on my series, one thing I learned about myself and how I express color is that pink and purple for this series are like this embodiment of like calm, peace, wonder, and that's part of why I titled the series Unhurried Wonder. I went on this trip this summer. Some of you guys were able to see my Behold Tour series, which was this road trip my family took from Texas to New York, and we saw so many beautiful things. So what I knew I wanted to do my project off of was pictures I had taken on the trip. But I'm a plein air painter. I love to capture moments, and sometimes like pictures don't fully capture what I saw in a moment. So that's really the idea for this series, is to draw pictures using color to express emotion and the composition to show you guys what I saw in the place. The first piece of the series I titled Holding Hearts. So on this trip that we went on, the Behold Tour, there was 19 of us and we were traveling for 15 days, and that was kind of crazy to have so many people for so long. And this moment was so special to me because right at the very beginning, my cousins were walking ahead of me and they were just holding hands, and I was just so encouraged by their friendship and how sweet they were to one another. And just that being on the trip, that was like, it kind of marked the environment, and that's kind of why this moment was so special to me. So the next piece in the series I titled Walk with a Purpose, and this piece was drawn off a picture that I took in Long Hunter State Park where I painted on the Behold Tour. And these are my cousin's feet, and I drew her feet specifically because she is just so inspiring to me. She walks in her life with such a purpose. She encourages and calls everyone to be like better than they are, loving everyone, encouraging everyone, and in her life I really see that she walks with a purpose. And so I drew her feet because they kind of resembled and represented something that's very meaningful to me. So the next piece in the series I titled Streams of Joy, and this one wasn't actually part of the Behold Tour. It was in the area we were in Tennessee, but we went there about a year before the Behold Tour, and it was just one of those moments in my life where it was just so magical, it really had to be included in the series. When we were there, like, my whole family got to go swimming in the like pond of water, I don't know, like little pool of water, and the water was like crystal clear, and just I saw my cousin and my little sister playing in the water and little kids jumping off the waterfall, and it just felt like so joyful. And so I chose to draw that specific moment because it was like one of those moments where you're like, is this real? Is this life real? And it was just so joyful. So the next piece I titled Love Brings Life, and this drawing was based off of a candid Polaroid I took. And part of what made this moment so special was just how genuine it was, and relating back to like the atmosphere of the trip, how everyone loved each other in such a real way, and how life-bringing that was. And so that's why I drew this one and why it was special. So the next one I titled Hope in What's Past, and this one was in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and this drawing is a drawing of my friend sitting on the fields looking out. And what's kind of fun about this one is her grandma grew up in Pennsylvania, and so she was sitting there thinking about where her grandma grew up, and I just thought it was so cool to think about that, but also think about just the nature, like thinking about what's been there and what's there now and how we can be a part of that. So the next piece I titled The Surprise of Growth, and this is an illustration of the barn on the property of the 1760s farmhouse we stayed at in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And I titled this one The Surprise of Growth because I just was so like enraptured by the beauty of the nature there. Like, it felt so different than what I had seen before, and the way like the farm was working and running and how they kept it going just kind of made me think about how things that grow are so beautiful and how it like is surprising every time it comes back. So that's why I titled that one, and it's special. So the next piece I titled A Gentle Breath, and this was an illustration of a picture I took of my cousin standing on the mountain in Olana, and she was looking over the Hudson River and the Catskill Mountains, and it was like such a stunning beauty of the scene, but at the same time it felt like so calm. Like it was like quiet, and just the beauty of it kind of made me just like wonder at the fact of the stunning beauty could also make me feel calm and gentle. So that's why I called it A Gentle Breath. So the next one is also from Olana. This is a landscape I did of the Catskill Mountains over Olana's hills, and I titled this one The Abundance of Life, because when I was looking out at it, I was just seeing like this lush, beautiful nature, and like as we traveled, we saw so many different kinds of nature, kinds of beauty, and this one was just like flowing with like rich green grass and the mountains in the background with the big trees. It just all was just so like abundant in life. That's why I titled it that, and that's why it was so special, and just like it just made me like filled with wonder. So the next piece I called Delicacy and Intricacy, because that is exactly what I saw as most beautiful in these flowers. I saw them at this coffee shop, and they were fresh from this local flower vendor, and they were just in their full bloom, and when I saw them in the room, like my eyes locked on them, and I just was captivated by them. They were just so intricate, so beautiful, and when I drew them, I really wanted to capture that delicacy and that intricacy in the flowers. They almost felt magical, like they were glowing. So the next piece I titled A Quiet Morning, and so it's kind of interesting. This day was far from quiet, but this moment I specifically felt like the peace and calm of the quiet. So it was the day we went to New York, so we went on a train, which was loud, and we were in New York, which was loud, and there was a lot of us, and that was loud. But when we were in the train station, the glow of the morning sunlight was in the room, and there weren't that many people, and just the safety and the love that was shared between our family in that moment is what I felt made this moment so special, and why I titled it A Quiet Morning. So the next drawing in the series is titled A Person of Peace. And this is a drawing I did of my friend while we were walking around in New York City, and even amidst everything, she just brings peace wherever she goes, and it's one thing I'm very impressed by and just love about her. She brings peace to every environment and situation she goes into, and so I drew this picture I took of her in New York City that just kind of radiated peace to me, and that's why this one's so special. So the next piece in this series is a fun one. I titled this one Melodies of Love, and this was an illustration of this classical guitarist who was playing his guitar just outside of Central Park, and we were walking through this tunnel listening to him play, and I just saw his face, and it was just like fully in love with the music he was playing. Like he had this one vision, and it was directed towards his guitar. It was just him and his guitar, and the world that was bustling around him didn't matter. And that moment was just like so incredible to me. I was just so moved by how much love he had for his art, and so I decided to illustrate this one and try to capture that because it was just such a fun and beautiful moment. So the next piece is a fun one. I titled this one Berry Delight. It's of a smoothie bowl I had, and one thing to know about me is that I love fruit. And so whenever I have an exceptionally good fruit something like smoothie bowl, like everything in life is amazing. And so I decided to illustrate this exceptionally good smoothie bowl I had at some place we stopped at on our trip, and just capture just the beauty of the smoothie bowl. It's funny, but it's real. It's just something that sparked the wonder in me. So that's why I decided to draw it. So the next one in the series is kind of like the central piece of the series. I titled this one Sweet Ocean Breeze, and the reason it's kind of the central piece is because it's an illustration of me experiencing a moment. So the rest of them kind of come from my perspective, but this one is of me just experiencing the calm and the wonder at this absolutely gorgeous beach, and so I illustrated this one just to kind of capture that moment that I was feeling, and it's one of my favorites in the series. It turned out so well. I feel like it really captures what I was feeling. Where am I? So the next drawing in the series I titled Chaos Finds Peace, and this is actually a drawing from the same beach the last one was in, Wingershik Beach in Massachusetts, but I really just was kind of captured by this lighthouse at the beach. And when I was thinking about like the concept of a lighthouse is like the salvation for those in trouble. And I felt like this beach, it had lots of rocks at it, but also like the clear, pristine water, and then the sunset, the sky. It just kind of always like this mashup of chaos, but meeting peace. So Chaos Finds Peace is what I titled this one, because that's kind of like the moment I was experiencing. So the next piece in the series I titled Settled In, and this was based off of a photo taken in Rockport, Massachusetts, and it was just these two little chairs that were sitting in front of a house, and it was just like so like quaint almost. And quaint can be, I don't know, some people think it's a negative word, but I really don't. It's just like this feeling of like community and peace and like security, and just in two little chairs. That's what I saw and what I felt. And so I illustrated this one to kind of capture that moment. The next piece I titled Faithfulness in the Waiting. And this is an illustration of my brother and my cousin's dog. And dogs tend to have this like, you know, understanding that they're loyal, especially golden retrievers, and that's what this dog is. And my brother is not a golden retriever, but he is one of the most faithful people I know, and especially in a lot of waiting seasons in life, but also just in this moment where he was just kindly waiting for everyone to be ready to go and do what we were going to do, whatever it was. But I titled this one Faithfulness in the Waiting just because I just am so impressed by his faithfulness in so many aspects of his life, and this moment just really captured that characteristic of him, I feel. So the final piece in this series is from Niagara Falls, and I titled it Just Beyond. And I titled it Just Beyond because there's a lot of things that this place kind of made me think about. Just the majesty and like how huge Niagara Falls was made me think of like both how small I was, but how like impressive it was that I could stand in its like in the presence of that waterfall and like think about what's bigger than that. And then there's like the horizon with the sunset, and you think about what's beyond those buildings that are there, and there's this mist that's coming out from where the waterfall is, and you think about what's down there. And in the same way, I just thought about that, like this was the final kind of like landmark of the trip, the end of the Behold tour, and while that's the end, it also kind of made me think about what's beyond this and all the moments that I get to experience in the future. And I really feel like this drawing final kind of encapsulated like my growth as an artist. Where I was and where I'm going, and just kind of that season of life, it kind of all kind of was tied together. It makes me think about the future, like what moments I have ahead of me to enjoy, to have that wonder about. And like with the new year, I have a whole nother year ahead of me to have moments that will make me full of joy and all these other emotions and feelings that maybe one day I can draw them and capture them too. It just makes me excited for what's to come and what's just beyond.
I've heard it said you become what you behold, and if I see joy in the water, that's where I'll look. Unhurried Wonder. I'll find magic in the moments I'm in. I'll be delighted by the world where I live. I'll focus on the beauty in life, not the ugly. But here's my question. What do you see? What fills you with wonder? When you slow down and look at your life, you will see it sprinkled with magical moments. Those times where life was beautiful to you. Focus on finding those moments. Your unhurried wonder.
Oh, this is beautiful. This is a really beautiful spot. I like looking out. That was a very dad mannerism. Look out.